How one of the greatest players in NBA history managed to destroy his own career with his own hands. And most surprisingly, the cause was not an opponent, not age, and not even a game injury. Millions of fans admired Larry Bird for decades without ever suspecting what he actually had to go through. Why did every game turn into true torture for him? And what seemingly ordinary decision marked the beginning of the end for the legend? Watch this video to the end, and you will learn what truly destroyed Larry Bird's career. The final years of Larry Bird's career look nothing like what people usually imagine the life of a great sports legend to be.
If you enjoy, just like I do, discovering the real stories behind NBA legends, their incredible highs, tragic downfalls, and the little-known facts that are rarely talked about today, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps the channel grow and makes new videos possible. Thank you. Now, let's continue.
Thousands of spectators saw him take the court again, score points, dish out assists, and lead the Boston Celtics to victories. But almost no one understood the price he had to pay for every single game he played. Sometimes the pain was so severe that an ordinary person would have struggled just to get out of bed. After games, Bird could barely walk, and recovery turned into a genuine ordeal. His back had practically stopped bearing the load. Yet he put on his uniform again and again because he could not imagine himself outside of basketball. Every appearance on the parquet became a battle not only against opponents, but against his own body. From the outside, it seemed as though he remained the exact same cold-blooded leader. He rarely showed emotion, made no excuses, and never told the public how difficult it truly was for him. While fans marveled at another precise shot, a completely different battle was taking place inside his body, one that cannot be seen on a television broadcast. It became especially hard after intense matchups. Just to sit down on the bench or get up from it required overcoming severe discomfort. Sometimes even the simplest movements required enormous effort. But instead of taking an extended break, Bird chose to keep playing.
For him, missing a game meant letting down the team, and he could not accept that. This is why many of his teammates later admitted that only years later did they fully realize what their leader had gone through. During games, he hardly let it show. He continued to fight for every ball, battle for rebounds, take hard contact, and make decisive shots as if he were completely healthy. Only those closest to him knew how heavy the hours after the final buzzer had become for him. The paradox was that even with severe physical limitations, Larry Bird remained one of the best players in the entire league. His basketball IQ, timing, and incredible confidence allowed him to do things that seemed impossible. While others relied on speed and athleticism, he won through thinking, experience, and an almost supernatural understanding of the game. This is why opponents continued to fear him even when it was obvious his body was no longer obeying him as before. Yet the main question arises: how did a man who many call one of the greatest basketball players in NBA history end up in such a condition before his career even finished? Why was an athlete at the peak of world basketball forced to endure constant pain, risking his own health for the sake of every next game? The answer cannot be found in a single unfortunate incident or a single injury. This story built up over many years. It began long before the championship titles, millions of fans, and global fame. To understand why Larry Bird ended up practically broken by his own body, we need to return to where it all started, a small American town where a skinny kid lived, not yet suspecting he would one day become a legend of world basketball. French Lick, a small town in the state of Indiana, was hard to call a place where future world stars are born. There were no luxury sports complexes, famous academies, or conditions capable of opening a path to professional sports. It was a quiet provincial town with a population of just a few thousand people where almost everyone knew each other and life flowed peacefully, without major changes. It was here, on December 7, 1956, that Larry Joe Bird was born. His family lived very modestly. Money was constantly tight, so parents tried to save on literally everything. For Larry, such a life seemed normal. He grew up expecting no favors from fate, understanding from an early age that any success would have to be earned exclusively through his own labor. His mother, Georgia Bird, had a particularly strong influence on him. She did everything possible to ensure the children lacked nothing critical despite numerous financial hardships. Working multiple jobs at once, she practically never rested. Later, Larry said more than once that her resilience became an example for him for life. Watching his mother overcome difficulties every day, he learned a simple principle: complaining is pointless, you just have to do your job. His relationship with his father, Claude Bird, was completely different. He was a veteran of the Korean War, but after returning home, he struggled for a long time to find his place in civilian life. Gradually, problems grew more serious, affecting the entire family. Tension at home mounted, and the financial situation worsened even further. When Larry was a teenager, his parents separated, which became a heavy trial for all the children. Soon, an event occurred that forever changed the life of the future basketball player. His father passed away, and this loss left a deep mark on Larry's soul. Later, he rarely spoke about this period, but people from his circle recalled that it was then he finally turned inward. Instead of long talks, he preferred to work in silence, train, and keep his emotions inside. Basketball gradually became not just his favorite game, but a way to escape surrounding problems. On the court, worries related to family and a constant lack of money disappeared. There existed only the ball, the hoop, and the desire to become better than yesterday. Larry could spend hours shooting at the basket, repeating the same movement over and over until it became practically ideal. At the same time, no one considered him an outstanding natural athlete. He did not amaze with incredible speed, stand out with a powerful build, or possess phenomenal leaping ability. Many future stars looked significantly more impressive, but Bird had something that cannot be measured with a stopwatch or tape measure. He possessed an incredible drive to constantly improve and never accepted losing. Even in high school, he became famous for his unusual confidence. If someone said he couldn't make a difficult shot, Larry took it as a personal challenge. He stayed on the court until he proved otherwise. Such an attitude gradually formed the character that the entire NBA would later come to know. For him, every doubt from others served as extra motivation. Over time, Bird's talent began attracting the attention of college coaches. The best programs in the state closely followed his performances, realizing they had a player with enormous potential before them. It seemed a rapid path to the top awaited him. However, his first serious chance in life unexpectedly turned into a trial that could well have put an end to his basketball dream. When Larry Bird received an invitation to Indiana University, many were certain the next stage of his life would follow an ideal script. Bob Knight's program had already built a reputation as one of the strongest in the country. For most young players, getting in meant taking a huge step toward the NBA. It seemed Bird ended up right where he was supposed to be. But reality turned out completely different. French Lick was a small town where almost everyone knew each other. The university in Bloomington represented a massive campus with thousands of students, constant hustle, and a completely unfamiliar atmosphere. For the quiet and introverted Larry, this world felt too foreign. He felt lonely among a huge crowd of people and simply could not get used to the new life. The problem wasn't basketball at all. In practice, he still demonstrated a high level, but outside the court, he felt constant internal discomfort. It was hard for him to communicate, make new acquaintances, and live away from home. Every day only strengthened the feeling that he was not in the right place. Just a few weeks later, Bird made a decision that shocked almost everyone. He packed his things and went home, refusing to continue his studies at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. To those around him, this looked like a real disaster. Many decided the young player simply couldn't handle the pressure of big-time sports. Returning to his hometown was no less difficult. Instead of the bright future of a promising basketball player, ordinary work awaited him. To help his family and make a living, Larry took a job with his county's road department. One of his duties was trash collection. Later, journalists often recalled this episode, emphasizing how close he came to disappearing from big-time basketball forever. Every morning started the same way: work clothes, heavy physical labor, and the feeling that his dream was slipping further and further away. Many in his place would have given up on sports entirely. After all, after such a failure, few get a second chance. Yet something completely different happened. Even while working a full-time job, Bird didn't stop training. After his shift, he went to the court and kept shooting at the hoop until late evening. Fatigue was no excuse. On the contrary, hard work only increased his desire to prove others wrong. It was during this period that one of the main traits of his character finally formed. Larry stopped playing for praise, recognition, or pretty newspaper headlines. He played because he simply couldn't otherwise. Basketball ceased to be a dream of fame. It became part of his life. Soon, Bird enrolled in Indiana State University, located in Terre Haute. This educational institution did not possess as loud a name as Indiana University, so national attention directed at it was significantly less. However, it was here that Larry first found himself in an environment where he felt genuinely comfortable. The pressure vanished, confidence gradually returned, and along with it, his incredible talent began to unfold. Almost immediately, it became clear the university had acquired a player of an entirely different caliber. Bird didn't just score points. He controlled the flow of games, saw the floor several plays ahead, and forced his teammates to play better. With each season, his influence became more noticeable, and talk about the strange guy from the small town gradually spread far beyond Indiana. Very soon, the entire name Larry Bird would be known across America. And this would be helped by a rivalry that would forever change the history of college basketball, and a few years later, the entire NBA. By the end of the 1970s, Larry Bird was no longer just a talented player from a small university. Each new season only confirmed that an athlete of a completely special level was emerging in American basketball. He didn't possess a flashy appearance, didn't stun the public with incredible leaps, and rarely sought to be the center of attention. But the moment the game started, all talk instantly stopped. Bird surprised people not with individual bright moments, but with how easily he controlled what happened on the court.
It seemed he knew in advance where every player would be a few seconds later. While opponents made decisions, he was already calculating their consequences. His passes found teammates in the most unexpected situations, and his shots often seemed completely impossible until the ball went through the hoop again. Indiana State University quickly turned into one of the biggest sensations in college basketball. The team, which until recently rarely entered national spotlight, began one winning streak after another. Fans came specifically to watch Bird. Journalists increasingly asked the question, just how far could this modest guy from French Lick go? The answer proved impressive. In the 1978-79 season, Indiana State went through the regular season without a single defeat. Match after match, the team confirmed its success could not be called accidental. Everyone understood, if Bird continued playing at such a level, a historic NCAA national championship final awaited him ahead.
Yet fate had prepared an opponent for him, who would soon become not just a competitor, but the main figure of his entire basketball history. Moving confidently on the opposite side of the tournament bracket was Michigan State University, led by another phenomenal player, Magic Johnson. Unlike the calm and restrained Bird, Magic practically radiated energy. He smiled, enjoyed public attention, and turned every game into a true show. They were complete opposites of each other in almost everything. It was this matchup that instantly captured the attention of all America. Newspapers compared the two future stars daily. Fans argued over who was stronger. Television fueled interest ahead of the final, presenting the match as a clash of two completely different worlds. On March 26, 1979, millions of viewers tuned in to watch a game that would later enter the history of American sports. The NCAA final between Indiana State and Michigan State became the highest-rated game in college basketball history. interest in this encounter proved so massive that people discussed it far beyond sports publications. This time, victory went to Magic Johnson's team. Indiana State suffered its first and only defeat of the season, and Bird was forced to watch opponents celebrate the championship title. For many players, such a defeat would become the biggest disappointment of their career, but in the case of Larry Bird, something entirely different happened. Having lost the most important game of college basketball, he simultaneously won much more. It was after this final that the entire country finally became convinced that two future NBA superstars stood before them. No one doubted anymore. Very soon, Bird and Johnson would land in the professional league, where their rivalry would reach a completely different level. A new chapter lay ahead.
Larry was about to land on a team that had recently experienced far from its best days. And few back then assumed that in just a few years, he would turn the Boston Celtics into one of the strongest teams in the world. When the Boston Celtics selected Larry Bird in the 1978 NBA draft with the 6th pick, club management understood they were getting a talented player. But even the most optimistic expectations could not predict how quickly he would change the fate of one of the league's greatest franchises. After finishing college, Bird decided to spend one more season at Indiana State University, so he joined the Celtics only in 1979. During this time, the club continued experiencing serious problems. The team, which practically knew no equals in the 1960s, gradually lost its former greatness. Fans still filled the Boston Garden stands, but the era of endless championships was left behind. The situation was especially hard after the 1978-79 season. The Celtics finished it with a record of 29 wins and 53 losses, one of the worst marks in franchise history at that point. The team lacked a leader capable of changing not only the game, but the atmosphere inside the locker room. That person turned out to be Larry Bird. He didn't hold loud press conferences or promise instant victories. His answer was always his game. In the very first matches, it became obvious a basketball player of an entirely different caliber had appeared on the court. He scored points with equal confidence, grabbed rebounds, found teammates with precise passes, and made the right decisions in the most tense moments of the encounter. Yet the main thing wasn't even that. Bird made those around him believe the team was capable of winning again. His confidence quickly transferred to his teammates. Players who had looked lost just recently began acting bolder. Everyone understood someone was nearby who would fight until the last second, regardless of the scoreboard. The result proved astonishing. In his debut season alone, Boston won 61 games against 21 losses. The difference from the previous year was immediately 32 wins, one of the most impressive jumps in NBA history. Fans saw a team capable of fighting for the highest goals once again. Bird himself was named the league's Rookie of the Year. However, the individual award interested him much less than club success. He never sought to become the main hero of newspaper headlines. For him, one thing mattered far more: that the Celtics would become champions again. Before the start of the 1980-81 season, club management took another crucial step. As a result of a major trade, center Robert Parrish moved to the team, and young forward Kevin McHale joined him soon after. Together with Bird, they formed the legendary trio that would later become the symbol of a new Boston era. This team combined talent, discipline, and incredible dedication. Parrish acted reliably under the basket. McHale gradually turned into one of the most technical big men in the league, and Bird remained the man around whom the entire game was built. He didn't just direct attacks, he set standards that the rest had to match. In just his second season in the NBA, Larry Bird helped the Celtics capture the championship title. For the club, this was a long-awaited return to the top, and for Bird himself, the first confirmation that his path was only beginning. At the same time, however, a team on the other side of the country was rapidly gathering strength and would soon become the main obstacle in Boston's path. Magic Johnson was already shining in Los Angeles, and alongside him grew the ambitions of the Lakers. Their new rivalry no longer stopped at a single college final. Now dominance over the entire NBA was at stake. By the early 1980s, the NBA was experiencing a difficult period. Attendance at many matches was declining, television ratings were no longer growing as fast as before, and final series far from always sparked wide audience interest. The league needed new heroes and a story that millions would want to follow. It was then that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson stepped onto the stage once again. Their rivalry, which began back in college basketball, unexpectedly continued at the highest level, only now the stakes had become significantly higher. One represented the legendary Boston Celtics, the other was the face of the Los Angeles Lakers. East versus West, cold calm versus open charisma, two completely different characters united by a single goal: to become the best. Bird rarely smiled on the court. He spoke little, but almost always backed up his words with actions. If he promised to hit a decisive shot, opponents understood this was not empty braggadocio. Johnson, by contrast, infected everyone around with energy.
His smile became one of the trademarks of the NBA, and his style of play turned even ordinary passes into a true performance. It was this opposition that made their clash unique. Every meeting between the Celtics and Lakers turned into an event of national scale. Fans discussed upcoming matches in advance, journalists analyzed every detail, and tickets disappeared long before the opening whistle. It seemed the entire country split into two camps, and each was certain its team was stronger. The first NBA Finals series between Bird and Johnson took place in 1984. It fully lived up to expectations. 7 intense games, constant momentum shifts, fierce fighting for every ball, and immense psychological pressure. In the decisive game, Boston proved stronger, and Bird received his first Finals MVP award. Yet the story was only beginning. A year later, the Lakers took revenge. The 1985 Finals became historic for several reasons at once.
For the first time, the team from Los Angeles managed to defeat the Celtics in an NBA Finals series. For Johnson, this was not just another victory. It was an answer to the defeat a year prior. Bird took the setback the way he always did, without loud statements. He simply kept working. In 1986, Boston was back at the top. Many specialists still consider that Celtics roster one of the strongest in basketball history. The team won 67 regular season games, and Larry Bird played one of the best seasons of his career. He confidently controlled the game, shot accurately from any distance, saw the floor brilliantly, and proved once again he was capable of leading the team forward in the most responsible moments. It was during these years that Bird reached the peak of individual recognition. From 1984 to 1986, he won the NBA regular season MVP award 3 seasons in a row. Few had achieved such a feat before him. This was a period when his influence on the game seemed almost absolute. Yet the most surprising thing wasn't even the number of awards. Bird possessed a rare ability to psychologically pressure opponents. He could tell a defender in advance from which spot he would execute his next shot and then actually hit it. Similar stories were confirmed not only by teammates but by his opponents as well. For them, this looked almost unbelievable, but it happened over and over right during matches. From the outside, it might have seemed everything was going perfectly for Larry. Championship titles, individual awards, global fame, and a spot among the planet's best players. Yet a completely different reality hid behind the pretty picture. While millions of fans discussed his next precise shot or new victory over the Lakers, Bird's body was gradually paying the price for years of endless self-sacrifice. He never spared himself in training, disliked resting, and constantly demanded more from his own body than it was ready to endure.
It was then that events began unfolding whose consequences would later change his entire career. For Larry Bird, a simple rule existed. If you can train, then you must train. He didn't like skipping sessions, didn't look for easy paths, and never considered that he had reached the limit of his capabilities. Even after becoming an NBA superstar and a 3-time regular season MVP, he continued working as if he still needed to prove his right to be in the league. Many young players in his place would surely have started conserving their strength. Bird did the opposite. After official training sessions, he often stayed in the gym to execute hundreds more shots. For him, it wasn't enough to simply hit the hoop. He repeated the exact same movement over and over until he felt he had brought it close to perfection. This approach applied to absolutely everything.
He thoroughly studied opponents, paid attention to the smallest details, and constantly sought ways to become at least slightly better. This is why many teammates said his main talent wasn't natural giftedness, but incredible discipline. However, such self-sacrifice had a flip side. In those years, attitudes toward athletes' health noticeably differed from modern ones. Today, clubs closely monitor player workloads, limit playing minutes, and try to avoid unnecessary risks. In the early 1980s, such an approach was far less common. If a leader could take the court, he took the court, even if the body was already clearly making it known that it needed rest. Bird completely fit this culture. He rarely complained about how he felt and almost never looked for reasons to miss a match. Any pain was treated by him as an obstacle that just needed to be overcome. He was certain a true leader was obligated to play as long as that was possible at all. Over time, minor injuries began accumulating.
Hard collisions, constant battles under the basket, numerous falls, and long seasons gradually left a mark. Some problems passed, others took their place. But Bird kept taking the court as if nothing were happening. It was especially difficult during the playoffs. Each series demanded maximum concentration and immense physical costs. Under such conditions, the body didn't manage to fully recover. Yet Larry continued spending dozens of minutes on the parquet against the league's best players. His desire to win invariably proved stronger than caring for his own health. Even in the off-season, he rarely allowed himself a full rest. Instead of extended recovery, Bird handled household chores, worked on his property, and constantly found tasks requiring serious physical effort. Such activities seemed completely natural to him. He grew up in a family where hard labor was part of daily life, so he never perceived himself as someone needing a special regime.
It was precisely this habit of doing everything independently that would soon play a fatal role. One ordinary day, which at first didn't seem like anything special, would lead to consequences from which his career would never fully recover. At that moment, no person could imagine that the cause of future long-term problems would be neither a game episode, nor a collision with an opponent, nor a hard training session. Everything started far away from the basketball court, near his own home, where Larry Bird decided to perform work that could well have been entrusted to other people. During the construction of a house in late 1985, Larry Bird decided to lay the gravel driveway himself. Instead of hiring workers, he spent several days hauling and leveling heavy gravel. It was then that he seriously injured his back. At first, Bird didn't attach much importance to it and kept playing, but soon the pain became constant. Doctors diagnosed spinal issues, but full recovery was never achieved.
Later, many called this decision one of the most expensive mistakes in NBA history. If his body used to cope with colossal loads, after this injury, every game only worsened the situation. Despite recommendations to take care of himself, Bird didn't change his principles. He took the court again, hiding how hard things were for him. The final years of Larry Bird's career turned into a daily struggle. Due to chronic back problems, it became harder for him to withstand long seasons. Yet even in such a condition, he remained one of the league's best players. In 1992, Bird joined the legendary Dream Team, which captured Olympic gold in Barcelona. However, a reality known only to his immediate circle hid behind the loud victories. After training sessions and matches, he frequently required assistance just to stand up or move around calmly. In August 1992, Larry announced the end of his playing career. He was only 35 years old. For many, this came as a surprise, but Bird himself understood. His body no longer allowed him to play at the level he always demanded of himself. After leaving the court, Larry Bird didn't vanish from basketball. He successfully worked as the head coach of the Indiana Pacers and then became the club's executive, achieving a rare feat, winning NBA MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year awards. His name has long since become part of world sports history. Yet perhaps Bird's main legacy is not records or championship titles. He showed that an outstanding character is capable of lifting a person to the summit, even if nature did not endow them with the brightest physical gifts. True, the price of this greatness proved incredibly high.